Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Bright Founders Talk at TEMI. TEMI is an international software development company that designs, builds, and delivers software for sustainable businesses and promising startups. My name is Matthew, and tonight I'm joined by Mr. Eliott Teissonniere, who is the co-founder and chief technology officer at a company called Nodle. How are you doing today, Elliot?
I'm doing pretty good. How about you?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking, and thank you for being with us today. Elliot, I did say that it was an evening. It's an evening for me, but earlier for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's morning. I'm based in San Francisco, California.
I hope you have a beautiful Friday today. Elliot, before we
Yeah.
continue, can you tell our viewers and our listeners a little bit about yourself and what it is you're currently involved in?
Yeah, so my name is Eliott Teissonniere. I'm a co-founder and CTO of Nodle. We recently launched a new app to fight disinformation called Click. And previously I have over 7 to 8 years of experience building Web3 applications and a little more doing security and programming in general.
Fantastic. So tell us a little bit, if you don't mind, about the start of your journey. So where did everything begin for you? Where did your seed begin to germinate?
Yeah, I actually started when I was young. I was honestly very bored and was reading books, and a book on programming kind of caught my attention. And I think my dad didn't want to get me the magazine, so I ended up printing or asking him to print a lot of papers I would collect online to read them. And then a few months later, we'd have stashes of papers around the house on how to program, how to design networks, and many research papers as well. So that was pretty cool. And then one day I was bored again, and so I contributed to an open source project called BitNation. And BitNation was an amazing project that wanted to build alternative to nation states and e-governance tools on chain. And that was really my entry to Web3. I discovered an amazing world where I could write smart contracts, I could kind of decide how people can govern themselves or take decisions. And so the younger version of me found that pretty damn exciting. And to this day, I still love governance and Web3, so that's pretty good. I had to move on from BitNation, and I did a bit of consulting for a year or two. And through consulting, I came up on Nodle. I entered as more of a blockchain engineer, and then graduated to now CTO, co-founder, going through head of blockchain.
Wow.
And I've been with Nodle for about 5 years and a half, 6 years now.
That's a very interesting chain of events. When you started printing these things out, getting your dad to print them out for you, you were working at home. You were at school at the time, I take?
Yeah, I was at school. I was getting to university, I think, as we call it in Europe, and I wanted to study programming, but I quickly realized that the amount of papers I have read beforehand and the amount of code I had written beforehand was very different from my peers, and so I got a little bored just because teaching we're receiving was very early stage programming. So that's when I also decided to drop out, move to San Francisco for a year, and focus on Nodle.
Wow. So you done so much previously that it was boring for you doing the formal study.
Yeah, I had a head start. But I think that's very classical with people that start programming very early, and then you get into school and you realize not everybody is at the same level. And it's like,
Absolutely. So tell us about the birth of Nodle. Tell us, how did that come about? Where did the idea come from? Where did all of that start?
yeah. So I joined Nodle maybe a year after it started or so. And Nodle started from my two co-founders, Misha and Garrett. And they were working at an app called FireChat. Misha was the founder of FireChat, and FireChat was a great innovative app that was using Bluetooth to communicate between smartphones, and it was very useful in disaster areas or areas where internet access is generally a little tricky. And Nodal really started with the realization that FireChat was a great consumer technology, but that the enterprise applications of it were underexplored. And so we set out to build Bluetooth and smartphone-based network to connect IoT devices to the cloud. Today, for instance, we are helping a company in France called Woo find stolen cars. So they equip the cars with a Bluetooth beacon, and then if the car is stolen, they can query the network and find where it was, and hopefully recover it.
That's pretty
So that's the
cool.
type of applications we can support. And I think that's a kind of demonstration that yes, there are enterprise use cases for fire chats. And recently we're kind of looking at what we learned over the past basically 5 years and a half. And we realized we could do a little more. And we also realized there was a lot of demand for real world data, but certified real world data. And we always thought that Nodle could be a good way to interact with the real world through smartphones and kind of bridge. One of my favorite quotes is bridging the digital and real world into one. And this is how we came up with Click. We realized that given the current geopolitical context and the incoming elections in many places in the world, there was a need for fighting disinformation, or at least certifying media, the media that we consume. So this is how we built Click, which is a nice camera. You can take pictures and it will certify and track the origin of your pictures. And this is where we're at.
So some very positive real-world applications in the technology. Was this the aim in the beginning, bettering the world, or was it solving a problem? Did all these things fall into place? What were your goals starting out?
Yeah, I think we very much started out with that idea of, okay, there is a technology. We are pretty convinced there are enterprise use cases for the network. Let's test that out and let's discover if there are actual enterprise use cases. And so we are very much motivated by the network itself and its capacities and potential. I think we did find some customers, so to that extent, we did prove that there were enterprise use cases for it. And I think as we went on through the years, we discovered we could do different things with the network, and we kind of had to figure out what we would focus on. And I think now this new goal to fight disinformation is definitely extremely beneficial for the world. And I think that's also a big motivation nowadays.
Absolutely. It's a hot topic at the moment, isn't it? Disinformation.
One could say disinformation is a real issue nowadays. I think you probably have a Twitter account. The audience probably has Twitter and YouTube accounts, and it's extremely hard to know if what we are seeing online is real. I'm personally very curious also to follow the conflicts in Ukraine, Russia, and Israel, Gaza. And the amount of disinformation there, of pictures that are reused 3 years after the fact, or just wrong interpretations is abysmal.
I have heard a little bit about that going on, where people have even used images from computer games, of wars or whatever, and they've used these pictures as tools to generate clicks and misleading headings. So yeah, and anybody can put any information on the internet these days. So
it's extremely hard to verify. And the US saw that as well with the elections, right? In the Trump-Hillary elections, I think there was a lot of disinformation, and that's when the term fifth generation warfare was coined, which is the idea of using data and media as a weapon and as a way to influence people. And I think we've seen numerous articles on how this is used, especially during election time, so not just wars.
So a lot of cool benefits to us when all of this is up and running and in full operation. But tell us a little bit about the growth then. So you've got this brilliant idea. You've got Click, you've got Nodle, you've got these things working together. Was it hard to find funding? Was it hard to find support? Were people generally receptive to your ideas?
I will say yes and no to both. To all your questions. Obviously, the company has been running for 6 to 7 years. Again, I joined a year later. And obviously, we went through very different market cycles. And so each market cycle comes with its own trend and wish to invest or not. I think generally we've found investors to be receptive to the idea and supportive. And we've raised significant amount of funding, both in seed and token. So I think we're in a good position. I think our investors are supporting us. They love the new Click app as well. I think they love seeing the real world implication of the technology. I guess one learning is that selling or pitching a network is something that's a lot less material than an app with probably a very simple value proposition to people. That the app uses the network, and the network is still something we're investing on, but I think it helps when selling or pitching people.
And tell me now, what about looking into the future? How are things? Is it a positive outlook for the future? Are you excited about things that are coming?
We wouldn't be here otherwise.
Okay, nice and easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm very
Wouldn't be.
excited. I mean, again, click is a big motivator for me. I think it is a realization of 5 to 6 years of work personally, and a few more years for my co-founders. I'm very excited that we are solving a problem that I also became interested in because I'm generally curious and love taking information from geopolitical conflicts and elections. I'm very excited that we have a solution to the problem I was also seeing. I think the network itself is also going to have some really good upgrades that we've been working on for a very long time. We have that concept of smart missions, which is what program our network. So I think there's going to be a lot of big things, and it's going to be a very busy year as well.
If you don't mind, can you tell us a little bit about being a member of the Forbes Technology Council?
Yeah, so Forbes has a great initiative called Councils, and they create various pockets of experts that may then write occasionally on Forbes or be quoted here and there. And so they can use that as a pool of expertise when they want to write articles. I've written a few articles over there, and they're generally very helpful in getting them published. It's a membership organization, so they just filter whoever they want to see on Forbes.
That's very cool. Now, you've got a lot of things going on in your life,
Yeah.
and the show's a little bit about what it's like to manage teams, run businesses, come up with ideas, stay ahead of the
Mhm.
market. How about finding time for yourself? Do you have a work-life balance? Is it only work? What's going on at the moment?
Now, I think work-life balance is a bit of a myth when you are trying to build a startup out of nowhere. But I also think it is to some extent necessary. So personally, I mean, I have a quiet dog, and the dog kind of forces me to go take a walk, as banal as it sounds. And then typically on weekends, I'll try to pace myself a bit, maybe do some work when necessary, but also go out in the park, take a book with a girlfriend, and wait a few hours on Saturday afternoons or a bit more. And then I found it helpful to do kind of micro holidays here and there. I still think I probably cannot take a long, 2 or 3 weeks holidays. I think there's too much going on with the business and with all our activities. But generally, taking a week off for a weekend, next weekend here and there is generally, I think, much easier and very much doable. So I've been trying to do a lot more of that. I don't think I've quite done on a work-life balance. It's very much a work in progress on my side.
Work in progress. What if, would you have any,
Yeah.
would you change anything if you knew back then what you know now? Would you have changed anything? Or do you think, this is the way it had to be?
I think it's the way it has to be. For a while, I was very interested in this idea of lifestyle business, the business where you don't spend much time on the business and it keeps running. But I think if you do want to build a successful business in high competition areas or in very innovative areas, you kind of have to put in the hours anyways. And I don't think, that's not something you can do part-time, as nice as it would sound. So if you it is, it's a choice to make. Very happy with the work we put out there, and plus as a result of taking the sacrifices we take on other days.
Absolutely. Now, something I wanted to speak to you a bit about as well. You were the CTO of BitNation, and they were rewarded by the Net Explo Prize from UNESCO in 2017, the world's first marriage app on Ethereum. A lot of big things going on there. What was it like working on something like that? I mean, that's a feather in your cap right there. That's something pretty cool.
Yeah, BitNation was great. It was an open source project. I mean, just a few people came in and contributed left and right to the project. As we needed to structure ourselves, I kind of took on the hat of CTO very early on. I think it was very interesting. It was also very different kind of people that just want to build things maybe outside of the existing system. It was very early on in crypto as well. I was quite happy when we got the prize. I think it was one of our digital identity solution that got us the prize. So we had very highly motivated, highly interesting people that maybe didn't quite live inside the system you and I are part of. I remember some of our team members were living fully on Bitcoin. The guy had no bank account. He only using crypto, and it was in 2017, when crypto debit cards were not exactly a thing, and So yeah, very, very highly motivated people, very, I guess, pioneer people as well.
Pioneers, I like that.
We are exploring very interesting use cases. The marriage smart contract was a good one where one day, you know, well, why don't we try to do something in that sense? We had that concept of agreements basically, and the marriage smart contract was to be the first agreement that will be on the platform, and an agreement maybe a lot more than just a marriage. Right? But that was a good demo, which also I think talks to people. I think that was important.
I like it. So all these things that we're talking about today, all the things you're working on, real world applications, life changing technologies. Now, if you had the opportunity to talk to a young version of yourself and maybe give a word of advice starting out, getting into this journey, what would you say?
Yeah, I think especially over the last few years, I learned a lot about myself. And I think if I saw the younger version of myself, I probably would have advised them to trust themselves a little more, maybe bet a bit more on yourself. Maybe also seek out mentors earlier. I think mentors or people you can look up to and learn from are extremely important. And I think people's younger ages are their highest potential. This is when your brain plasticity is at its maximum. It's when you can take risks and it's when you have time. In some cases, I think I could have been more aggressive in believing in myself and taking the bets I did take.
That's very, very insightful. Is there anything you'd like to tell our viewers before I let you go? Anything you'd like to share with regards to the company? Anything I might have skipped over that you think is important?
I think we pretty much went through it. The cap is available on waitlists. I guess if you DM me on Twitter, I can probably give access here and there. It's available on clickapp.com actually.
Clickapp.com. That's fantastic.
Yeah,
and if anybody wants more information, can they? Is there a website they can visit?
Yeah, totally. So clickapp.com for click, and then Nodle and odle.com for Nodle.
That's fantastic. Elliot, I just want to say thank you from myself and behalf of the team for taking the time out today, sharing your journey with us. And I'm sure our viewers and our listeners will find a lot of useful information with what you've shared today.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time, Matt. It's been good.